Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Arktoberfest, our first CPD seminar for this year's Arktoberfest, the Architecture and Technology Festival, which happens every October. Now, yeah, we would like to request for you to open your camera, your video, and also we'll have first our national anthem, followed by Architect's Credo and the prayer.
Hallowed be your name, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. And do not lead us into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
I shall work with this general objective that I am accountable to God, to Mother Earth, to my country, to my fellow men, and to myself. I shall uphold the ideals and follow the norms and ethical conduct of this noble profession. I shall pursue moral and professional excellence to the utmost level of integrity, through industrious dedication and meaningful application to my work that merits a reputation for quality of services worthy of their remuneration. I shall pledge myself to the highest standard of professionalism in relation to clients, colleagues, industry partners, and society. I shall dedicate myself to the pursuit of creative endeavor towards the goal of enlightened art and science, generously sharing it. I shall respect the rights and works of my colleagues in the profession and confine my comments to constructive intents. I shall endeavor to do my duty in the protection of our noble environment and the preservation of architectural heritage for the sake of the present and future generations. So help me God.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. A pleasant afternoon to everyone. My name is Adrian Tampolina, and I'm zooming in from Singapore, and we are broadcasting from the Philippines and, of course, from all over the world. And welcome to Arktoberfest Year 3. And, of course, Arktoberfest is the only architecture plus technology festival which is, of course, held every October and by the United Architects of the Philippines QC South Triangle chapter. And of course, I would like to thank you all for coming in this seminar from different districts and different chapters. Welcome to our festival. And without further ado, I would like to uh, give the screen to our chapter president, Architect Bons Tararemo, to read the protocol for CPD for this event. Architect Bons.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Allow me to read the protocols for the CPD event. We'll just wait for the slides. Do we have the slides, guys?
Wala po.
Wala. Okay. For the 8 CPD rules, house rules, to the validation of your attendance, only the email addresses associated in your Zoom account and the only one you entered in your registration can enter the meeting. In the event of logging out due to intermittent connection or insufficient gadget power supply, please log in back again using the same registered email address associated in your Zoom account. Number 2, use the official Arktoberfest events virtual background and strictly follow standard naming as surname, first name, and your chapters. You must fill up the attendance Google form during the event and must be inside the Zoom to be a valid participant. Facebook Live viewing is not a valid proof of attendance. Participants should be prohibited from turning off their video cameras. Please observe dress code. All participants' microphones will be on mute during the speaker's presentation. The use of reaction button and chat box is encouraged for engagement and interaction during the Q&A segment of the program. Certificate of attendance will be issued to those who completed the required Zoom log time and successfully passed 70% of the assessment exam, which is a PRC requirement, which is answerable within 24 hours after the event. for all pre-approved CPD program. In return to the support of our industry partners rendered their sponsorship, participating to the event allows marketing related materials and promotional tools to be shared to your email box. The views and opinions of featured guests do not reflect the official stand and positions of United Architects of the Philippines and the Oktoberfest event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Architect Remo. And of course, uh, um, everyone, if you have any questions within the presentation of our guest, you can jot them down again in the chat box so that our organizing committee can get your questions for the Q&A later. Okay, I will be introducing, of course, our special guest for today, our first guest for today. So, our guest has more than a decade of policy action research, urban planning, and strategic management consultancies. Currently, she is the Executive Director and Chief Sustainability Officer of Smart City, improving the way smart cities and digital transformation are being developed in the Philippines and developing countries by evangelizing openness and people collaboration at a city level. She is trained under the ASEAN Smart Cities Leaders Program of ASEAN Foundation and Data Stewardship under the GovLab of New York University. And also, she has served as a Smart Sustainable Cities instructor with IoT Academy and International Telecommunications Union Academy, or ITU Academy. She's a director for ICT and cyber relations of US ASEAN Youth Council, and her competencies ranges from smart sustainable cities, urban planning, ASEAN in the Philippines, management, and policy action research. As I said earlier, currently she is an instructor in the International Telecommunications Union Academy. She is also currently the Executive Director and Chief Sustainability Officer of Smart City Philippines. In July 2020 to August 2021, she is an elected member of the Board of Directors in Tech Shift Alliance in the United States. In January 2019 to December 2020, she is a policy consultant for the Department of Transportation in the Philippines. In January 2013 until December 2020, she is a member of the board and corporation secretary of Strat Search Foundation Incorporated Philippines. Also a member from January 2019 to December 2020 of the Asia Pacific Institute for Climate Change and Mitigation and Adaptation. And from March 2015 to December 2016, she is a land gov consultant for Foundation for Economic Freedom Philippines. In May 2014 and to February 2015, she has been a consultant for USAID in the League of Cities Philippines, and of course, a consultant in International Labor Organization, or ILO, in United Nations from October 2013 to 2014. Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you Miss Kris R. Villanueva, Libunao, PMP.
Thank you, Adrian, and hopefully, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Okay. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks for the reading my CV as well. Hopefully, you guys will hire me. I'm just kidding. Okay, I'll share my screen. Okay, can you guys see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen now, Kris. The screen is all yours.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the invitation. Thanks, Arktoberfest, and thanks for the organizers as well. Okay, so again, magandang, is it hapon? Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, wherever you are. So it's nice to be here with you all, of course. And before we get all started, I just want to, again, give a shout out to the organizers of our Arktoberfest and for the excellent follow throughs and, or of course, organizing this event. Again, I am Kris Libunao, and I'm coming in here with the lens from data stewardship, urban planning, project management, and more than a decade of policy consultancies. Currently, as mentioned by Adrian earlier, I am the Executive Director and Chief Sustainability Officer of Smart City. So what is Smart City? At Smart City, we want to move the conversation away from solely about being high technology and application development towards one which focuses on openness, on data, on people. Okay, so why do we do this? Because the current digital government and smart cities approach in developing countries and like the Philippines is not really working for us. It's not really working for the developing countries. And because of technology first approach, of the problems in data, and of course the illiteracy of the people. And this I will discuss more in detail later. So you might be asking, what's the vision of the organization? Smart City is the first technology nonprofit organization and in the Philippines and a pioneer in the smart cities field. Our vision really is to have a future that is fair, that is free, or as in freedom, open, and smart. And how do we do it? We do this through our sustainable digital transformation approach, wherein we assess, we train, we plan, and we design, and of course, we collaborate with our partner communities to build their solutions. Okay, this is quite a long presentation. This is a 40-minute presentation or less. So I will talk about the effects of ICT in our physical world, which I know everybody here can relate to. And first, I will first discuss about some fundamentals understanding the urban spatial structure and ICTs. Then I will give a quick overview on smart cities. Afterwards, we will tackle a little bit about the smart cities in the Philippines, the opportunities and challenges. And by the end of my presentation, I hope that, I will leave you as architects or planners some food for thought on the current smart city approach that requires and need our urgent action and attention. So this morning, okay, the first thing that I did is to check my phone. And I am pretty confident to say that probably most, or if not all of us here did the same. If not, comment sa chat box, okay? And let us know how you do it. Anyhow, so why do we do this? Why do we use our phone a lot, our smartphone a lot? Perhaps this is out of curiosity on what is happening in the world, perhaps to communicate with our loved ones, or well, perhaps the short answer really is our smartphones are the windows of our lives. Our smartphones is the window to the world as well. And if you don't agree with me, comment let's a chat box and let us know why. Okay. So with these ICT advances or information communication technology advances, we're able to stay connected with people around the world, right? So no matter where they are or perhaps what time it is. Like me, I am now in the United States, right? But I'm here talking with you as if I'm in the Philippines. And ICT or information communication technology also changed the way we work and how we work, how we study. Many companies now rely on remote workers or employees that work from home or basically anywhere. And right now, students can study, even graduate from home. And we call them Zoom University, right? Or Zoom University graduates. And, because of ICT, geography was supposed to matter less. These changes should have a significant impact on our urban spatial structure. What do you think? Does it matter less? Does geography matter less or location matter less because of ICT? Let us, but before we answer this, let us set the scene and talk about the fundamentals. So first, what is urban spatial structure? Urban spatial structure is basically the physical shape of a city or a community. But what shapes our cities and communities, right? It's the connections, the human connections and the interactions shapes our cities and communities. So, in order for us to realize the basic human desire to stay connected and other socioeconomic benefits that it brings, we put up what? We put up buildings, some for shelter, some to accommodate, business activities. We also innovate and build, other sophisticated systems like roads, streets, railways to basically facilitate the easy movement. Okay, so to put it simply, then urban spatial structure or USS is the physical development and overall character of a built environment, which depends on different factors like human connections or interactions and socioeconomic benefits. So you might probably be asking, so does USS or urban spatial structure only depends or only concerns urban areas and cities, and it doesn't concern municipalities and provinces? Before we answer this question, let's define first the cities, towns, and rural areas. What I would like to emphasize here and what I would like you guys to bring home is that the national definitions of urban and rural areas differ significantly from one country to another. So many countries use the minimum population size, like for example, in Denmark, as little as 200 people can constitute a city already. In Argentina, as little as 2,000, it can be called a city already. In India, it's 5,000. In Japan, it's 50,000. And in China, 100 people needs to constitute an area to be considered a city. So why did I mention this? Because in the Philippines, it is more complicated. It all depends on the land area. It depends on the income function. And basically, the urban is urban, or if it's rural, or if it's called city or municipality, it basically acts as an administrative or political boundary. So why did I mention this? The difference between the definitions of urban and rural in different areas or in different countries, because this is not a popular a popular what you call it, take on this, but we need to recognize that urban communities and rural areas at their edges must work together to really create a more sustainable and equitable communities. So right on the get-go, we need to recognize that being urban is a continuum, right? It is not really a dichotomy, which is separated from each other, and it changes through time. Okay? So going back to my question earlier on if, the urban spatial structure only concerns urban areas and not, cities and not municipalities and not provinces, what's the answer? The short answer is no. It concerns both the urban and rural because urban and rural is not really a dichotomy. It's a continuum and it concerns everyone. Okay. Now that we already talked about what's urban spatial structure, let's talk about how the information communication technologies shaped our urban spatial structure, shapes our cities, shapes our municipalities and communities. First, I would like to ask you, what do you think, Coursera, Zoom, Shopee, Lazada have in common? If you have an answer, comment it in the chat box. Okay? So, basically, the answer is the internet, together with these platforms, has essentially constricted the space, right? Making it easy for us to fulfill our desire to stay connected to anyone and to interact with others, right? So people can even shop, and people, as mentioned earlier, people can study without leaving their homes. So imagine, you are being paid the same. You're being paid like 500,000 pesos or something, and you can work anywhere. Why not live in the province where the cost of living is low and is cheaper? There's no traffic. It's relaxing, right? If if you will ask me if I am being paid the same, I will just leave the city in a heartbeat and just live in the province instead, right? I will save more. I will spend less as well. So logically, it will lead to what? It will lead to people. We might think that people will leave, the urban areas because, because of ICT. You can work anywhere, you can study anywhere, right? But the thing is, a 2021 study, however, has found quite the opposite. The internet and the ICTs have not currently have not pushed people out of the big cities, but rather they attracted more people towards them. Okay, so why do I say this? Because in 2050, it's closer than 1990. We might think 2050 is quite far away, but if we do the math, it's closer than 1990. So can you imagine what it will be like in 2050, where it's estimated that 102 million Filipinos will be living in the highly urbanized areas, right? So that's double of what it is today, right? So how can we manage everything? How can the public sector manage everything, right? So probably yung pag-travel from Quezon City to Makati, which takes 3 hours.
Recording in
Right
progress.
now, probably it's gonna be like 6 hours. I don't know. Okay, so that's where smart cities enter the scene. Smart cities is basically used to manage this particular scenario. Smart cities are essentially a product of a convergence between the digital and the physical world. So basically, cities and communities get smarter as they use technologies, as they use data to improve access and public service delivery to better the quality of life of the people. Okay? Now, let's talk about a quick history of smart cities so that we can understand really what smart city is about. Earlier, we've said that smartphones are basically a world in our pocket, right? Which collects data morning and night. So the development of the information communication technology, or ICT, really plays a great role in the evolution of smart cities. How? In a nutshell, so when the local area network or LAN, sino pang nakaabot ng LAN dito? Wala nga amin. When the LAN was invented in the 1960s, the talk about digital cities emerged. Okay? And after that, the digital cities gradually become intelligent cities when the global internet was like widely used in the 1980s. And what do we have now in our pocket? What do we have now? What do we use every morning when we wake up? It's our smartphones, right? So in the late 1990s and 2000s, around 2000s, that's where the local government, that's where the cities or the technology companies as well started using the smart city concept. Okay? So why did I mention this history about smart city? Where am I getting at? So what I want to say is that the smart city concept has been around for ages. Okay? And there have been initiatives since 1960s that we just have to continue to improve on. Okay? So by the way, as mentioned, 40 minutes yung presentation ko, and I know no one can stay focused in 40 minutes. So I will be asking questions in the next few minutes to make sure that everyone remembers what we've talked about so far, because let's face it, our attention span is quite quite short. Okay, so going back, another thing. So the first thing that I want you guys to remember is that smart city concept is not new. The second thing that I want you guys to remember is that I want to emphasize that smart cities should not and are not so different from other city paradigms. We all hear about this: resilient cities, sustainable cities, age-friendly cities, healthy cities, livable cities, etc. In fact, if we did a research in 2020, and we found out that even if there is no universal definition of smart cities, the main goals of this other city paradigms and the smart cities are very common. So what they want to achieve is that they want to enhance the citizens' quality of life. They want to provide a high quality service and sustainability. They want to enhance the social participation. They want to have like informed decision making. And of course, they want to use technology, right? So again, I want to say that please, we cannot separate smart city from these paradigms, just like we can separate technology and digital transformation from our daily lives. Okay? So we are halfway there. And before we move forward, I want everyone to get involved and comment your answer in the chat box. Okay? So here's my question. I'll wait for your answer. So here it is. Are smart cities different from resilient cities, sustainable cities, etc.? Another question is, are urban spatial structures and smart cities only refer to urban or cities and do not involve municipalities and provinces? So what do you guys think? Please comment in the chat box your answer, okay? There you go. There you go. So there are, okay, so perfect. Thanks for your for participating. Okay. So thanks everyone. Thanks everyone. So you guys are correct. The answer is no. The smart cities is just the same as the resilient cities, sustainable cities, and urban spatial structure and smart cities involve even the rural areas and even the municipalities and the provinces as well. Okay. So again, here are the key takeaways so far. First, urban and rural is a continuum. Urban spatial structures and smart cities can also refer to municipalities and provinces. Second, smart city is not a new concept. It has been around since 1960s, right? Third, smart cities cannot be separated from resilient cities, sustainable cities, etc. Just like we can separate digital transformation and the use of technologies from our daily lives. Okay, so now we move on to the next part, the smart cities in the Philippine context. So we did a research study on the existing smart city projects in the Philippines. And here are the few smart city projects that we found. Manila, Makati, Clark, Baguio, Cebu, Kawayan Isabela, and others. On the national level, there are some initiatives as well. The Digital Cities, which is an initiative with the Department of Information and Communication Technology. Basically, it aims to sustain the rapid growth of information technology and business process management locations in the countryside. And of course, the Smart City Framework of the Department of Science and Technology, which mainly caters to the researchers and the scientists rather than the local authorities as well. Okay? So the pandemic even accelerated the rise of smart cities. A report done by ESI found that because of COVID-19, local governments really ramped up their use of technology and data. So if you see the smart city initiatives in the Philippines that I mentioned earlier, in the Philippine local and national government, like elsewhere globally, are basically going digital. However, did you know that less than 20% of the digital government projects in developing countries like the Philippines are successes. What does it mean? It means that more than 80% of the digital government projects in developing countries failed. And sadly, the governments, investors, and even the funders, the INGOs, are still hyping digitized services, but not really addressing the history of e-government failures that we have before. And our research also found out that the current smart city approaches pose real challenges to our society, to our democracy, and frankly, to our sovereignty. Here are the top 3 problems in the current smart city approach that we still fail to address. Number 1, it's too technology centered. So the past and current smart city initiatives focuses on technologies and apps. So most of us see digital services as a technical engineering problem, meaning the current initiatives are separate from, bureaucracy, the policy, it's separate from the capacity of the citizens. So because of this, failed technologies are costly. And we need to recognize that technologies can be really costly, especially for the municipalities that have little resources in their community. Okay? And second problem is that there's no buy-in from the public. What do we mean by this? So for example, anyone here heard and used the Stay Safe app? For example, the COVID tracing app that we have here in the Philippines, after a year, the government finally accepted that it had little to no use in managing the pandemic because there's basically no buy-in from the public itself. Okay? And 3, there's a data problem, meaning lack of open data, data ethics, data governance, you name it. Before COVID-19, have you guys experienced this? Kukuha ka ng government ID, then the government say, "Oh, we need another ID for you to have for us to issue you another ID," right? So this is an example that our systems doesn't really talk to each other. Before COVID-19, there were and are plans and projects and projects that collect data or information from our cities. Because of COVID-19, we now have a lot of apps, we now have a lot of systems, but do you know where the data goes, right? Do you know? The users are not even aware how the data is being used, right? So for example, I will not go too much into technical details on this. A study done by Citizen Lab found the following on the COVID digital projects that we have in the Philippines. First, the Stay Safe app or the Stay Safe PH, the COVID tracing app that the government endorsed, collects device geolocation data and stores the data in a manner that is not secure. So basically, what does it mean? It means that anyone can use the user's movement patterns to basically de-anonymize them and to discover their health status. Another one is the COVID Kaya. COVID Kaya is an information system that the healthcare workers use in our country. This is a project in partnership with the World Health Organization and the DOH. But the Citizen Lab found out that it requests access to sensitive private information that is not really relevant to the system's principal functions. And because of this, a not authorized user can access the private data of the the user of the system, and potentially the data of the patient as well. So this is a huge problem. So we really have a problem in terms of data governance and management. There's a weak, public oversight on this. Is it the DICT? Is it the DOST? Is it the DILG? We really don't know. So just to recap, here are the challenges that we have in terms of the smart cities and digital transformation in our cities and communities. First, it's too technology centered. Second, there's no public buy-in. And third, there's a problem in terms of the data management, open data, and such. Okay, so this is why we exist. This is why Smart City exists. In Smart City, we believe that ICT, or information communication technology, can really be powerful, and it can be really a good opportunity to actively engage the public in governance and creating the future that we really want. But we have to face it that the developing countries cannot just acquire apps, acquire technologies solely to automate the government processes without taking a hard look at how the government operates. I will give a good example of this. I was consultant in one of the government, I will not tell the government agency, one of the government agencies in the Philippines. And yung gripo is sira, right? Yung gripo is sira, and we found out that in order to change that particular gripo, you need 35, I think 35 signatures just to change that particular particular gripo, right? So without really making the process on the ground efficient first and just translating it to digitalizing it, it doesn't make any sense, because if you will digitalize it, and still require 35 signatures, the purpose will be forfeited, right? So next, so what do we do? What do we after this rant? Okay, what do we do in Smart City, and what can you do really as architects, right? First, in Smart City as an organization, we advocate open source and interoperability. So we help the communities, the cities, to assess, and even organizations to assess their systems and craft a strategy to ensure system integration, to ensure that the systems talk to each other. So developing countries are burdened by systems that doesn't really talk to each other, yet currently we still continue to procure more systems on top of each other, right? So we really believe that adopting the free and open source software and open source first strategy will provide a great value to the government and to the public as well. So what does FOSS mean? FOSS means free and open source software. So it doesn't mean that the software is free of cost, meaning free food. It means freedom. Unlike closed proprietary software, it means that the source code of the software is open for all, and anyone, it's free to use, it's free to study, and free to modify the code as well. So you might be probably saying at the back of your mind, pero hindi naman ako programmer, why do I care, right? I'm not a programmer, why should I care if the software is open source or not? This is really a valid question. But I want you guys to think of it this way. Imagine these technologies or these software or these apps as our laws and constitution. Perhaps, we wouldn't understand a complicated, legal document. We're not lawyers, right? But if you have the freedom to look at the document, to keep a copy of the document, you can consult someone who can check the document for legal and ethical pitfalls and even improve it, right? So that's the value of open source. So in other words, FOSS or open source software has more flexibility and transparency, and it is hard to do this using closed proprietary software. Okay, so what can you as architects or planners do about it? Well, I hope you will be with us in pushing for the use of FOSS, the free and open source software. Perhaps in your next projects, you will give FOSS a chance as well. And I give some FOSS alternatives here for the, what they call this, false alternatives for the known, softwares that you guys might use right now. Okay. So next approach is that we are evangelizing open data at the local level. Did you know that, the national data sets, if you go to the national data portal, it's really hard to translate to subnational or city level data. So the ongoing pandemic really shows that the government's fragmented information systems, it really shows how the top-down bureaucratic procedures really hamper data sharing. So you might be familiar with the freedom of information and say, why do we need open data if meron naman tayong freedom of information? For us, FOI is nice and it's complementary with open data, but we really believe that open data in the city level is great. Since the public still needs to request, send a request for FOI is not open at all. So we recently passed the first local city level open data policy to ensure that the data sets will be machine readable and open. We are in Smart City, we are also exploring co-developing the first LGU level open data portal in Arteche, Samar. Okay? So you might be asking, but I am an architect. Why should I care if the data is open or not? Right? Imagine having open access to land use information and permits, right? You don't have to request from the LGU and wait for them to reply, right? Imagine you can use this information before undertaking excavation works and beginning building on new sites already. Okay. So I know this is easier said than done, but I hope as an architect, you guys, the next time that you will deal with the city government, you can demand for open data. Okay. So the last but not the least, our approach really is for us, the long-term strategy is to boost data and digital literacy. So we cannot build a portal, publish data sets and expect people to use it and come, right? So we really need to democratize data. But you might be thinking, so do we need to be a data scientist as well? Well, not everyone needs to be a scientist or data scientist, but everyone should be data literate. There are important, as you've seen earlier in my presentation, there are important questions about smart cities that need to be raised. And to raise them, people need to be educated about them. You cannot really consult and say that you already collaborated with the public on things that are not generally understood, right? So you might be asking, do architects need to be data literate? Do we need to be data literate? Yes. Why? Okay, first reason, the clients now are starting to ask architects to deliver more than just the drawing sets. In developed countries like the United Kingdom, there is a growing expectation that the architects will produce data sets such as the COBE or the Construction Operations Building Information Exchange spreadsheet as part of their regular deliverables, which is based on open standards. Okay? And the next reason why architects should be data literate is that the demand for real-time data from the buildings is rising. For example, the Sustainable Building Certification Organizations, such as the US Green Building Council or USGBC, are already making moves to verify building performance using real-time data. So they are now exploring this LEED dynamic plaque, wherein this particular plaque can be installed on existing LEED certified building, and facility managers can enter building performance data into an online dashboard manually or automatically, and as frequently as they want to. And of course, owners will be required to submit the building data for verification at least once a year. Okay, So what can you do about it? As I mentioned, architects need to be data literate as well. You do not have to be a data scientist, but becoming data literate really is crucial at present and more so at the future, in the future. Okay. So, surprise. Okay. In Smart City, we offer data literacy training for individuals and organizations too. So, to conclude, here's a quick wrap up. First, we cannot separate smart cities from resilient cities, etc. Just like we can separate technology and digital transformation from our daily lives. Second, the urban and rural development really is a continuum, meaning we need to recognize that urban communities and rural areas at their edges must work together to achieve, sustainability and equitability, right? Third, that the current smart city approach, which is too technology centered and not addressing, the data problems and not collaborating with the public, is failing us. With these, we need a sustainable approach or a sustainable approach in terms of digital transformation for a more systemic and sustained change to really happen on the ground. So we need to advocate open standards and interoperability, advocate free and open source software or FOSS, evangelize open data at the city level, and boost data literacy. Okay? And last but not the least, architects need to be data literate as well. Why? As mentioned earlier, clients are starting to ask to deliver, more than just drawing sets. You guys are being asked to deliver data sets as well. And the second reason is that the demand for real-time data from the buildings are rising too. So to end, smart cities can be, and digital transformation really can be a powerful and game-changing. But as Uncle Ben from Spider-Man once said, with great power comes great responsibility. So as architects, I hope that we, please take part in this responsibility as well. Okay. So again, I am Kris from Smart City, and we're making smart cities open. If you want to, donate, support, volunteer, or intern with us, let us know. Or perhaps you're interested in our data literacy training. Here's our contact information. So again, maraming salamat, and I'm open to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kris, for that wonderful presentation. And I think we have questions on deck for you. But so that the organizing committee can put the questions on visuals. Guys, can you put that in visuals later on? But before that, I would like to remind everyone to please rename your name in the official format that we have in all capital letters. Your surname, comma, space, first name, space, middle initial, underscore, district, underscore, chapter. And please have use the official virtual background for this event, and keep your cameras on during the whole the whole seminar for this afternoon. So, ready na ba, tech team? Can we can we can we flash the question for today for Kris?
Meron na tayong isa. Yan.
Okay. Kris, the question is, what are your thoughts on data privacy with regards to smart cities? The risk of cybercrime and hacking that could wreak havoc on millions of lives.
This is a huge concern, really.
Uh-huh.
So the question is, what is my thoughts on data privacy? It's really important. What are my thoughts on cybersecurity? It's really important on smart cities, and that's why our organization exists. Because currently, what we realize is that we just acquire apps, we just acquire systems. Our government just acquire systems. Our government just acquire apps without addressing cybersecurity, without addressing, data privacy. So my thoughts really is this should be pivotal before we jump on to any digital transformation, before we jump on to acquiring apps and developing apps in our cities and communities.
But also with regards to data privacy, Chris, what are your thoughts on the data privacy law that we have?
The data privacy law is it's quite straightforward really. If the data is, if the data is basically about the person's personal information, it
Mhm.
shouldn't be out there, right? It shouldn't be open. So it's quite straightforward, and you know, hopefully it can be implemented. It can be implemented. It's just a matter of implementation. We really have a lot of great laws in the Philippines. We really have a lot of great plans, laws, and such in the Philippines. But really, it's just a matter of implementation.
But in how I see it, because right now we have a data privacy law, but we still don't
Mm.
have the national ID, which is the should be the most basic ID or identification card that we have as a citizen in the Philippines. So does it tell something na parang it is not right, or is it too early for the Philippines to have a data privacy law?
I wouldn't say that it's too early. It's
Mhm.
good to be proactive, really, in
Mhm.
terms of privacy, in terms of security, and such. In terms of your question on relating it, why we don't have the national ID currently,
Mhm.
it's more on a political. I guess it's a political issue rather than
Aha.
yeah, rather than an issue on data privacy. And of course, there's a lot of issue currently. I don't know. The big question really is if we have this national ID system, do we have does the government has the capacity to manage and to secure the data that we have? So that's a huge question which I really don't know the answer currently. So
Okay.
yeah, so in order for us to really leverage on having a national ID system, I think it should be like a whole government approach. We should not think that, okay, just acquiring or just having this physical national ID, that's enough. We
Mm.
should make sure that it can be implemented on the ground. We should make sure that the data management is there. We should make sure that the implementation of cybersecurity is there as well.
Okay. Before we proceed with the rest of the questions, I think they are still jotting it in visuals. My next question is, you as a planner, you have worked with different ICT professionals, but we as architects, it is kind of new to us because we can have intelligent buildings in order for us to build a smarter city. So what is it like? What is it like working with these ICT professionals? Because I think if I going to ask you if should we work with ICT professionals, of course yes, because we are in the industrial revolution 4.0, right? So how is it like working with these kinds of professionals? Because this will be another set of consultants in any case that we will be um, hopping them into our projects. Parang ganon.
I think so. The question is what it is like working with IT professionals and how to
Yes.
collaborate with them,
Yes,
really.
yes.
I think it's a good thing. First, I would like to emphasize that it's a good thing to have like a diverse team in terms of your project. Second, that I want to emphasize is that working with IT professionals, you will learn a lot as well because their
Mhm.
approach is really different. You would learn, the agile project management. You will learn about the sprint planning,
Mhm.
um, and not, because currently our approach is like waterfall. We're
Mhm.
in, we're in. We will, plan something, and basically there's like a timeline, right? And there's no flexibility. But for IT professionals, you guys will learn how to what we call this, to have an agile approach in terms of our projects. And the third that I would like to emphasize is that, working with them, it's like just working with with other professionals as well. Like it's more on, like, look at it as more on collaboration, wherein you will learn from them, and hopefully that you guys will partake something to them as well. Because at the end of the day, we don't want, especially in smart cities, we don't want that they're they're the lead, so it's all about just technology. The
Mhm.
smart cities has different, as mentioned earlier, has different like components as well. Like you guys know about, like for example, the buildings, right? So the IT professionals wouldn't know about buildings, right? So more so, like, think about it as more of like a give and take environment that hopefully you guys will learn from each other as well.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, can we post for the next questions, please? Okay. Next question on open data. Who should we trust to handle storage of all collected data?
Oof, that's a huge question. Well, I will give an example, because in developed countries, it's really the government which handles everything. But at the end of the day, the government cannot do it on its own. So it's always, at the end of the day, it's always a public-private partnership. So who should we trust? It should be, as I mentioned earlier, it should be a collaborative approach. Open data, meaning it's open to everyone. So, it should be, the people should also be involved, so a, so in short, it's a collaborative approach. The government should have the skills, but if the government is lacking, it should have a private partner. But of course, at the end of the day, the people should be involved as well.
Okay. Uh, I understand that maintaining this kind of data sets, this kind of, for example, data warehousing, if the government
Mm,
will hire a third party,
cloud storage.
yeah, yeah. Um, is it expensive, or is the what they call red tape will be I think it will be also a hindrance to acquiring this kind of of services. And also, should it be just city per city, or can we have a conglomerate of Metro Manila, for example, or the whole province of Region 3 or whatsoever, things like that?
So the question is, should it be city by city in terms of the
Mhm, mhm.
storage itself? It really depends. In terms of the storage, there are different approach that you could do. Like for
Mhm,
example, I believe in Singapore, it's like a hybrid approach
mhm.
wherein the government has its own cloud,
Yes.
and they get like a support from a private, cloud provider as well. So it really depends. I believe in the Philippines, they're trying to do that as well.
Mhm,
Uh, because currently, what what would be nice is that, the city would have like a decentralized one, so that, if the national storage or the cloud storage of the national open data sets will be down, at least, there will be like a backup in terms of the city. But at the end of the day, it it we before we think about the storage, before we think about everything, we should make sure that the the government or the people on the ground has the skill to manage everything. It's secured
mhm.
and stuff, right?
Okay. That is well noted. Okay, next question, please. Does open data violates intellectual property, or we need to be openly share everything we have?
No, so the question was if it violates intellectual property. It's no. If it's openly share everything, if we will openly share everything, even if it's like under the Data Privacy Act, of course not. Okay, so open data means, you will open the public data, meaning the ones that's used for the for planning purposes, right? Like for example, what we call the population, the land use, or basically the basic data sets that is used for planning.
Yes.
So it's not it's the thing is, when people think about open data, they would think that everything will be open. Of course not. Okay, open data will still it's still covered by the Data Privacy Act. So not everything is open, but most, if not most of the government public data sets should be open.
Mhm.
Okay.
So how do you differentiate that it is accessible and it is open? Is it something uh, like for example, I have to request, then I need to have access on this.
Okay. So,
Mm.
well, if you have to request, it's not open data.
Okay. So yeah, okay.
Okay. So
Yeah.
open is basically open by default. It's
Mm.
there already. If you go online, it's there already. So if you
Mm.
check in the Philippines, we have the National Open Data Portal.
Mhm.
So I think Open Data Portal PH. I'm not really sure, but we do have it. So that's an example of open data. But our problem with that is that it's all the national data sets, and it's really hard to translate, and it's not disaggregated to the city level data sets.
Okay. Let's proceed to the next question, please. Would blockchain technology like NFT be a good solution for open but secure data sharing?
It could, but this is still a developing technology. I hope before we jump into blockchain technology, before we jump into NFT and such, we should focus on, do we really have a data to share? This is a problem with the local government. They want to acquire technologies, they want to have like AI, blockchain and
Uh-huh.
stuff. But when we go on the ground, they don't have a digitalized data set. So if you have the blockchain technology, and if you procure a blockchain technology, right, then suddenly you don't have any data to share anyway. So that's another problem. It can be secured, yes, but this is not, this is too technical for me to answer as well. But at the end
Mhm.
of the day, this is it's still a developing technology. And I believe the first thing that we should ask first is, if there's a data to share, if there is a data to share, if we have the capacity to manage it, and such.
And at which format does the data can be shared?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Because most data that we as architects get from the local government usually in PDF and in PDF, but it's a picture that has been scanned.
Yep.
So so i-input mo pa yung data sa CSV before siya mangyari. So yeah guys, so we need a format, a data with format such as CSV or the like that is can be played around, if that's how I
Yes.
can say it with in behalf of the architects. So next question please.
I would like to add on that as well.
Okay.
So you mentioned about the data formats. That's why we're also pushing for open data. So
Yes.
basically, open data is open by default and machine readable by default as well.
Actually, here in
So
Singapore, example for population data, it's readily available. The CSV is actually readily available online.
mhm.
So basically, if I need the data on Excel format, uh, then I need to do my own what do you call this, data visualization. I can do it with what I want. Then I can probably do some assumptions with it, ganyan ganyan, studies with it. So that's what we mean by format of data that the government that should be giving to us, not the PDF that is scanned. Yeah. Okay, next question, Chris, is what organization certifies that an LGU or a project has achieved smart city capability? There's a lot of LGUs declaring that they are smart city capable, or in some instances, net zero emission city. How is this audited or verified?
This is a good question, and this is something that we at Smart City question as well. Because currently, most of the certifications, the local government, based on our research, the local governments in the Philippines, what they use as a certification is from like a private company. And when we check at the assessment really focus on the technology itself. And there's a lot really. There's a lot of organization that certifies or say that you are a smart city and that's it. But there's no what they call this. There is no universal like a like a universal organization or like a UN or something that will say, okay, you're certified or something like that. There's none yet, and because we believe that being smart really depends on the community. You know, you can use like first you can use an assessment, and if you check the assessment, it's too technology focused. At the end of the day, if you call your city smart, does it really provide like a better quality of life to your citizens, right? Um, so, and I agree with you that there's a lot of LGs declaring that they are smart city capable. It might be interesting for you guys to note that our organization, we're in the middle of creating a tailor-fitted smart city assessment, which is really based on the capacity and on the Philippine what they call this Philippine context. Because we believe that currently most, if not all, existing assessment is based on the developed countries already. Wherein in developed countries, the data management is already it's most of the data management is already there. It's already advanced. Cybersecurity is already advanced. So what they so yeah. So currently, we believe that we need to develop an assessment which is really tailor fitted in the Philippine context and not really focused on just technologies itself.
Okay. Okay. Next question, please. Thank you very much, Chris. Are there cities that are already using smart city system? And how far are we, the Philippines, from reaching the same situation? How did they start?
So the question was, is that the organization system, the smart city approach, or the
I
smart
think
city as
so.
a? Okay,
Yeah,
so
smart city
yeah,
system.
yeah, okay. So the smart city as an organization, we are a fairly new organization. We just started at 2000 in 2019, and frankly, currently we are fueled by volunteers and interns. So specifically, I want to give a special mention and shout out to Adrian. He's one of our really active volunteers as well. So currently, we are piloting with one of the municipalities in the Philippines. It's Arteche municipality. How far are we? We're in the what they call this. We're in the pilot phase currently. We just passed the first open data policy on the city level in the Philippines. We are currently digitalizing their data sets as well, and we are exploring on how to develop like an open data portal with them as well. So how did they start? So currently, if you look at my presentation earlier, first approach that we do is first assess if what the quality of data that they have, as mentioned by Adrian earlier, what kind of data, in what form of data it has been released, what are the systems that they have on the ground and such. And afterwards, we do the strategy, a playbook. Then after that, we assess them. I mean, the assessment, what they call this, a smart city assessment that I mentioned earlier. So yeah, hopefully I answer your question. We're in the pilot. So in short, still in the pilot phase, and hopefully we will get more funding so we could support. We could really do this in full blown and really show how a more sustainable approach in digital transformation is.
And I think just to chime in, the what do you call this, because we had a guest last time, it's architect Jojo Tolentino of IDEA. He actually emphasized that digital transformation is not actually easy in any industry at any scale, and of course at it should start from somewhere, and it's like it's going to be bloody. Ganun, parang ganun yung sinabi. So, yeah,
Yes.
we have to hold our horses if we want to achieve a more digitized and a more advanced technology in our cities, or at least in our organization. So we have our last question, Chris, but it is not on visuals. The question is, any advice on how, as architects, work on adapting the in adapting or in making smart cities, and what should be the focus of us as architects?
Okay, so I think I already showed this earlier during my presentation. So if you guys as architects will go to the smart city space, space, I mean, first, please, evangelize open source and interoperability. Because as you've mentioned, digital transformation is not just use acquiring apps and that's it. It's a journey. You need to think about the long term, which is interoperability. This system will talk to each other
Mhm.
in the long run, right? So please evangelize open open standards and interoperability. Second, push for open data. Open data really fuels any technology. I will give an example. There's this app that, like for example, ride hailing app that wants to implement, their app in the city itself. If the city doesn't have a complete data set in terms of their map, this particular app wouldn't work, right? So data really fuels the technologies and really make the technologies work. So as architects, hopefully you guys will really push for open data, which is open by default and machine readable
Mhm.
by default. And of course, open by exception, meaning, the personal information wouldn't be shared there. Okay. So under data privacy law. And third is to be data literate. Okay. So as mentioned earlier, as architects, you guys need to be data literate as well. So there are a lot of what they call as trends that's going into your field that really requires you to know, what to know the basic skills in terms of data. What formats should be used, what formats are interoperable, and such. So I guess those three really. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Chris. Chris Libunao. Everyone, give her a reaction of a round of applause, of course. And I would like to call on our chapter president, Architect Bons Tararemo, to award the certificate to Chris Villanueva Libunao. Um, Architect Bons.
Yes,
Mhm.
share na lang natin sa screen. Yan.
Okay, okay.
Arktoberfest Architectural Technology Festival issues this certificate of recognition to Kris Villanueva Libunao for sharing her valuable time and knowledge as guest speaker on Arktoberfest 2021, How IT CSR Shaping Our Cities and Communities, by live streaming on Zoom meetings given this 16th of October 2021, signed by me and attested by our chapter secretary, Architect Beverly B. Loxin.
Thank you very much for that, Architect Bons. Thank you very much, Chris. I hope to see you soon as well. Ayan. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much.
Okay. So,
Bye.
yes, guys, we will have a 15-minute break before 15 minutes, right? Or at least, I think we have much time. We will start by, you can come in again by 2:45. Then by 3 o'clock, we can start the second seminar for today. Ayan. Ayan. So maraming salamat for Maraming salamat for tuning into the first CPD seminar of Arktoberfest, the Architecture Plus Technology Festival by the United Architects of the Philippines, QC South Triangle Chapter. And then I will see you in a bit.
Hello, greetings, architects and fellow builders. My name is Jaira de Jose of Starkin, Philippines, and I am so excited to share with you all about Starkin and the Philippines' leading AAC or autoclaved aerated concrete supplier. So let's get started. All right, so Starkin, we are the Philippines' leading supplier in AAC blocks. And just to give you a bit more background on who we are, our blocks are currently coming from Malaysia, where our mother company is. And it is currently Southeast Asia's largest AAC manufacturer. And to produce high quality products, we use high quality machinery. So we use Wareham technology of Germany. All right, so we have our Starkin AAC system. We really emphasize the word system because we do not just supply the blocks, but we are a complete package. For our product range, we have our blocks. Of course, we have our 4-inch, 6-inch, and 8-inch blocks. We also have lintel beams, as well as our panels. A few more descriptions. So for our blocks, we have a tested compressive strength of up to 1040 PSI. Also for lintel beams, we are 525 PSI, as well as our panels. And our panels are 40% lighter than conventional hollow core panels.
Recording stopped.
So we have our tools and accessories. Again, this is all part of Starkin's system as a whole. We have our thin bed adhesive, or we call it TBA. This is the glue that you apply in between all of the Starkin AAC layers, as well as our other dry mixes, such as our skim coat and render. Moving on, we also have notch trowels. This is what you use to apply the TBA. Our column beam bracket. This is made out of zinc alloy, so it doesn't rust, it doesn't corrode. And our carbide tip saw. All of these tools you'll be seeing how to use during installation in a future video coming up. Okay, so we have the 14 reasons to use the Starkin AAC system. The first benefit is its superior fire rating. Unlike CHB, which is only 2 hours, for Starkin, we have a 4-hour fire rating. Our second benefit is that we have excellent thermal, insulation, and energy savings. So it is 2 times more effective in reducing heat flow than CHB. And this is because the heat, let's say from the sun, does not get absorbed into our blocks, but rather repelled off. Our next benefit is superb sound reduction. So, of course, depending on the thickness of your blocks, our blocks give a rating of 41 to 50 decibels. Next, we have superior water resistance. So Starkin Malaysia did a 3-day hose stream test onto a Starkin AAC wall. And afterwards, they showed that there was no signs of water penetration or surface alteration. And unlike CHB, which is the bottom two photos, we're very familiar with this, right? Where water can easily damage and crack a CHB wall. Our next benefit, we have better earthquake performance. This is the 1999 Marmara earthquake in Turkey. And you can see, obviously, the difference between building with masonry products and AAC products. This was a 7.8 magnitude earthquake. So AAC blocks can withstand a force like that. Environment friendly. We are a green building material, and the components that make up our blocks is also very non-toxic. So our blocks are made out of lime, water, cement, an aerating agent, sand, and even the way our blocks are produced is in a non-toxic way. Just think of baking a bread in a oven. You pour it in, you pour the mix into a pan, you put it in the oven, let it rise, let it bake, take it out, cut it, and that's basically the same process with Starkin AAC. Moving on, we are incredibly light. We are 3 times lighter than CHB, and this is SEA Games gold medalist Eric Buhain throwing one of our blocks into his swimming pool, and it floats. So it's so light that it can float in water. But the misconception here is, people say, well, if it's so light it can float, is it really that strong? Is it really that durable? And the answer we will get into in just a bit. Savings through value engineering. So you can save up to 25% of foundation costs. We actually had an architect come to one of our distributors with plans originally for CHB. And once they converted it from CHB to Starkin AAC, they actually realized that they could save 25% of their foundation costs. And in regards to value engineering, there are 3 success factors: cost, time, and quality. And thankfully for Starkin, we have all qualities. And this photo at the bottom just shows our wall span when building with Starkin. So it is 4.5 by 4 meters. Moving on, we have faster construction. So this video will show you just how fast it is to build and construct with Starkin AAC. And I'm sure you'll see other benefits and major differences between building with Starkin and CHB. There you have it. So I'm sure you saw a lot of major differences, and we'll talk about it in these next upcoming slides. Excellent workability. So just like wood, you can saw, grind, and drill Stark and AAC blocks. So this makes the fittings of plumbing, electrical, and other wall fittings faster, easier, and neater. Moving on, we also are cost-efficient construction. So you can save in many, many different ways with Stark and AAC. As you noticed in the video, there's no rebar, no plastering, so you will save on material costs. There's no curing time, less manpower is needed, less need of waterproofing and sound insulation, and much more. Many other more indirect costs are involved as well. Less hauling and cleaning. So I'm sure this is a very familiar sight to you when working with CHB. But for Starkin, we really promote and actually train your team on site on maintaining cleaner workspaces. And in regards to training your team, we do provide that for free. So we realize that this technology and this installation method is quite different to the market, and we want to make sure we're there for your team. So we'll help train them until such time they are confident and comfortable enough to install and train others. We are strong and durable. So not only are we lightweight, we can float in water, but we are strong. We have a TUV rating, severe duty rating, as well as a level 3 rating of the ASTM International. And last but not least, our final benefit, our high compressive strength. So our blocks were actually tested locally to prove this, and they were cut into cubes and tested at the top, middle, and bottom. So these are screenshots directly from our results, our test results. And Starkin passed with flying colors in all of our sizes. So from our 4-inch, 6-inch, and 8-inch blocks, they all passed. So those are the 14 reasons to use the Starkin AAC system. We are ITAG accredited, so there is no height limitation when it comes to building with Starkin AAC. And we also provide Starkin AAC certifications. So we actually have a manual about this thick that we can provide for you for your reference, either hard copy or soft copy of all of these certifications and more. We do have stocks available on demand. Our warehouse is located in Marilao, Bulacan, and we constantly have shipment coming into our warehouse. So we do have stocks readily available. Philippine projects. So now let's get into what we've actually done here in the country. We've done One Ayala, the Albany. So we've done high rises. The UNTV Broadcast Center. This was originally built with CHB until the 14th story, and then they converted to Starkin AAC. So you are able to do that as well with our system. The Red Planet in Taguig, the Hive Project, McDonald's 3-story building. This was set out to take 5 months, but after using our entire system, they completed this project in less than 90 days. Central Mall. We also do industrial projects, so we've done many warehouses, as well as residential. So from low-cost, affordable housing to also the high-end residential projects. So these are all of the companies and more that have trusted us with their projects, and they all agree on Starkin AAC. So for our installation methods, I will just give a surface description on what this looks like. If you have any further questions regarding this, feel free to contact us and we'll be able to answer those questions. So for Starkin, so as you can see, there is our bracket, and you will apply that every third layer vertically. So you can see after the first layer that's applied, you will apply the bracket, and then every third layer of blocks, bracket, third layer, bracket. And then horizontally, as you can see at the top, it's every 2 layers. So here is a more zoomed up visual on what this looks like. And you can see that the bracket also provides a seismic gap with that little curve at the bottom. And the same goes for our openings. So you can see the brackets also installed every third layer at the doorway. So what we usually say at Starkin is don't just build, 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 but build, build better. And with us and our system, you truly can. So thank you so much for your time and your listening ears, UAPQC architects, and take care, stay healthy, and God bless.
In the stillness of the night, each person's hope to realize his dream continues to smolder even in sleep. A dream of a brighter future. A dream of a cleaner world for our children. A dream to fly high. We see you. This is our vision, that together we soar. The Filipino families' needs for their living and working environments are fast evolving. Every step you take, we are there to offer solutions. Our continuous innovation is underscored by our steadfast commitment to support you in your efforts to improve your homes and workspaces. Our facilities adhere to the highest standards in the industry. Our zero-generated wastewater program is the first of its kind in the Philippines. A closed production system for minimal dust dispersal ensures a cleaner environment. We value excellence, and our people are proof of that. We provide lead-free, low VOC, and odorless products that contain innovative ingredients to improve their performance. Products with antibacterial protection technology ensure that your family is shielded from potentially harmful organisms. We feel you. We have created strong international partnerships to give you products with your convenience in mind. Like paint with Teflon surface protector technology for walls that are easy to clean. We hear you. For the rainy season, our water-based roof paint will protect you, and you can rest in the knowledge that you and your loved ones will be safe in a dry haven when the heavens pour. We understand you. We have a heat-reflective roof coating.
Nice to meet you.
It keeps surface temperatures cool, which brings down your energy costs. Our water-based paint provides excellent hiding. You need less, so it saves you time, effort, and money. We care for you. We are one with you in building a cleaner environment for your family. We gave the world the first air cleaning paint with crystal-active photocatalytic technology. We share the Filipino spirit of wanting a better future for our families. We celebrate your milestones with you. Whether together or apart, as long as you are aspiring for a better tomorrow, we are there at your side. And we are committed to the country's future generation. We are one with you. We support deserving students and provide them with the means for an education. Even our country's wildlife, they too need help. We support you. Across the nation and beyond, we continue to explore new horizons with cutting-edge technology providers. We tirelessly offer you the best solutions to every unique situation. In all aspects, we strive to think ahead of you, the Filipino family, and provide answers to your questions and needs on the home and workspaces that you inhabit. We are explorers in our world. We are innovators in our craft. We have been your partners since 1953, and we We are committed to continue understanding and serving your needs. Because we are Boyson. In the stillness of the night, each person's hope to realize his dream continues to smolder even in sleep. A dream of a brighter future. A dream
Hi guys, good afternoon. We are just waiting for our speaker, for our next speaker, but please be reminded to rename.
Is going in. She's pretending to be Adele's assistant. She's going to say her name is Simone and she wants Adele to be treated like a regular person. Okay, so Adele, if you can hear me.
Reminded that to change your name in this format, all capital letters, your surname, comma, space, your first name, space, um, your middle initial underscore your district underscore your chapter, and please be reminded to use the official virtual background for this event. Thank you. Aldo is here. Oh, Aldo is here. Okay.
Hello.
Okay. Hello, Aldo. Okay, Aldo, let's just have some what do you call this? Housekeeping reminders. Okay, everyone, good afternoon. Again, okay, wala pa lang video. Okay, guys, good afternoon again. My name is Adrian Tampolino, your international ambassador, zooming in from Singapore, and we are broadcasting live from the Philippines and all over the world. And of course, I will give the screen to our chapter president, Architect Bons Tararemo, in order for us to give the house rules. Architect Bons?
Thanks, Adrian. So let us remind you for the house rules.
Recording in
Please-
progress.
To ease the validation of your attendance, only the email addresses associated in your Zoom account and the one you entered in your registration form can enter the meeting. In the event of logging out due to intermittent connection or insufficient gadget power supply, please log back in using the same registered email address associated with your Zoom account. Use the official Arktoberfest event's virtual background and strictly follow the standard naming as surname, first name, middle initial, district, and chapter. An example, as you can see on the screen, you must be inside the Zoom meeting to be a valid participant. Facebook Live viewing is not a valid proof of attendance. Participants should be prohibited from turning off their video cameras, and please observe proper dress code. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Architect Bons Tararemo, our chapter president. I have now I will now introduce to you our next speaker. Okay, our next speaker is actually the founder and director of Nomina Tech Services. And he is also the founder and director of Reshape, an innovation platform. Currently, he is also the director of Masters in Robotics and Advanced Construction in the Institute of Advanced Architecture of Catalonia, IAAC, in Barcelona, Spain. And currently, he's also the director of IAAC Global Summer School, GSS, from the same, of course, from the same institution, Institute of Advanced Architecture of Catalonia, Barcelona, Spain. He is a PhD candidate in Swinburne University, Australia, for machine sensing, robotic cognition towards spatial planning. He is conferred with the title of Knight of the Order of the Star of Italy, conferred by the Italian President of the Republic for the promotion of national prestige. He has his Master in Advanced Architecture from the Institute of Advanced Architecture of Catalonia as well in IAAC. Our multi-awarded speaker for today has, of course, awards from Climate Launchpad, Creative European Project Funding, of course, award of Fab 13 Chile for the challenge on fashion and assistive technology. Is also a winner in extra large competition. How do you pronounce this? Papira, and and various design competitions and masterclass concrete design competition in Bauhaus. Okay, he has his master's degree from, of course, Master in Advanced Architecture in IAAC, and a diploma in architecture from the University of Roma in Italy. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Mr. Aldo Sollazzo. Good morning, Aldo.
Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Hello. Yes, good morning, Aldo. How are you?
Good morning. All good.
Yeah.
All good. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, thank you also for hopping in our Arktoberfest. So without further ado, you may now take the screen.
Sure. Let me share the screen. Okay, good. You should see it now.
Yes,
can you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Excellent, excellent. I'm sorry that if I don't have your background, but I think I didn't receive it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. So first of all, again, thanks for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. And today I will be sharing with you the trajectory that we've been tracing here in Barcelona with our company of Nomina. This presentation actually will cover all the different actions and solutions that we've been performing and delivering in the last years. And in fact, all these solutions are always in between the digital and physical space. That's why the title of this presentation is called Data Matter, Novel Ecologies for Material-Driven Habitats, and how much we can combine digitality and physicality into a new ecosystem of solution where materials, advanced material, manufacturing solution, sensing devices at the end blends into a new informed space that can respond also to all the challenges, to a series of challenges that we are facing nowadays as a society. So you already gave a very deep introduction about myself, but let me introduce you the group of Numena. Numena has a unit that is focused on a company that is focused on data analytics, which is Numena Data. Our company for material tech, which is Reshape, and our manufacturing company for 3D printing and big scale digital fabrication, which is La Macchina. Today, I would like to show you all the actions that we perform, all the projects that we deliver in this ecosystem of innovation. And all these projects are possible because of a strong team that collaborates with us. These are the project managers from the different areas, and they are all with different expertise coming from digital fabrication, material computation, robotic engineering, computer science, computational design, fashion tech, and with a strong capacity in the marketing and the retail sector. So the presentation of today will be structured according to this guideline. We will start from a global challenge that we are all facing, and it's like one of climate change. And in fact, all the solution that we are going to introduce you at the end wants to be solution that somehow connect technology and sustainability. And then we will jump into the Reshape and all the material technologies that we are developing in this company, our planning and spatial analytic tools of Numena, and finally the additive manufacturing and the physical solution that we construct with La Macchina. So let's start from the first chapter. We know that, we are unfortunately aware of the situation that we are living, and we are aware also of which are, I think I'm sharing the sound, right? Can you hear it? Now you hear it. For the next one, you will hear it. You can hear it right now, a little bit. No, maybe
this one we can hear.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so this is the 7th time in the history of our planet that we are recording a shift in weather patterns, but it's the first time that this shift is not provoked by a purely natural actor. What is happening is that the temperature are rising more than 1 degree in the last century, and we are getting very close to a dangerous point, which is called by the scientists the tipping point, which is a level of a temperature rise around 2 degrees that we can calculate and project by the end of this century, or probably, unfortunately, before. If we reach this tipping point, I guess that you guys all know, a lot of the equilibrium and the aspect of a society that we all know today will fall. And we might have to face a lot of challenges, very hard challenges that will need very hard choices. This temperature are rising because of the concentration of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and 95% of studies are demonstrating that this rise in terms of temperature is provoked by us. So it is also on us the possibility to start shifting this direction. And one important, I think one very important or interesting point is made by David Wallace Wales, the author of The Unhabitable Earth, who talks about, also the importance of this historical moment that we are all facing as a humanity. And in fact, due to the global warming, all the aspects and also all the most important principles of life that we know nowadays have been compressed into the timeline of two human generations. So in the timeline of two human generations, we have the possibility or the responsibility to redirect the action that could probably define our future as a species on this planet. And probably technologies that can can help us in this, can become an instrument that could probably picture a less apocalyptic scenario, shifting from this apocalyptic scenario to probably a merely green future, but still better than the one that the scientists are unfortunately projecting for us. So let's start to talk about opportunities. And in fact, as a society, we are all also working towards the conversion, or the redirection of these alarming trends towards a less problematic condition. And in fact, all these actions at the end as a society, as a global society, are the ones that are resuming the Sustainable Development Goals, which have been defined by United Nations. And as Reshape, we are very interested in the connection between the goal number 13, which is focused specifically on the lowering carbon emission and all the action that are performing solution against climate change, and the number 9, which is on the other side, focus on the industrial development and the introduction of digital technologies to create a new innovative industrial context. For us, material technology becomes the very important bridge between these two sides, sustainability and industrial development. And the possibility to program materials becomes a very important new challenge that can deliver a potential novel ecology at the industrial scale. How can we start to program matter and use this material at the industrial scale as a new solution that want to mitigate the effect of climate change? So let me introduce you the Pure Tech, which is our contribution to the matter.
What if we could clean the air pollution by applying our product to any kind of surface? From roads, paint, textiles, plastic materials, literally anything. Global warming is the biggest threat to us and future generations. Our planet average temperature has raised about 1 degree Celsius, causing extreme weather events, wildfires, loss of sea ice, raising sea levels, between many other alarming problems. With the help of new technologies, we have designed a natural mineral product that has been proven to absorb greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, volatile organic compounds from the air, something that has never been possible before. The global impact this is applied on a big scale could be massive. Our mission is to make this world a better place. We have the solution. Now, we need your help. All together we can.
What is it? Pure Tech is a natural mineral compound that has the capacity to absorb the main greenhouse gases, as you saw, carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxide, sulfur dioxide, volatile organic compounds. And the interesting part of this material is that it can be applied to any kind of surface, and it works in a way that is really innovative. And in fact, it's a material that presents both characteristics of photocatalytic and catalytic capacity of conversion of these main greenhouse gases that are turned into carbonates, so inert minerals that are unharmful for the skin and the environment. The interesting part of this material is not only that absorbs the main greenhouse gases, but it also is a proven humidity regulator and has antimicrobial and bactericidal characteristics. And on the other side, it works 24/7. We have an unlimited capacity of industrial production, since we believe that innovation matters only when it can be deployed at an industrial scale. And this is possible because we have this material is ubiquitous over the face of the earth. So as a Reshape, we have our own agenda of implementation, and from this powder, in fact, we can deliver a series of transversal solutions. In fact, the Pure Tech powder can be implemented over paint, textiles, cardboard, soil, plastic, resin and wood, and roads. And the interesting aspect is that through the first action that we are performing at the industrial scale, we are projecting an absorption capacity in terms of impact around 5,000 tons per year, which is the equivalent of 83,000 trees growing for 10 years, 6,530 acres of the US forest, 11,000 barrels of oil, or more or less 600 homes energies that could be saved for 1 year. All this information evidently are information where the impact is measured in terms of data. And data it becomes one of the most critical aspects also to start redefining and measuring and programming solution and actions for to fight climate change and global warming. And in another beautiful book, Timothy Morton, who is the author of this Dark Ecology, in another book, Timothy Morton speaks about the essence of data. So in a statistical age like the one that we are living, global warming denial is completely a sort of displacement, no? A displaced denial of modernity. And this is because data at the end of the day is shifting. That data is not tangible, but yet data is all that we have got to start measuring and calibrating our action to plan and live in a better planet for the future. And with Numena, we are working on data, and we are working on the capacity to extract data from our built environment and start to deliver a strategic solution that can trace a different idea of spatial planning. So how can we start to transform and manipulate our spaces using data, spatial data, to program habitats and introduce architectural solution that can represent a more resilient ecosystem? Spatial data in the history of data analytics has been evolving after the open access that was granted under the Bill Clinton legislation in 1994, and from there all the GPS data that was only used for a military purpose was open to the public. And in fact, in her beautiful book, Laura Kurgan is speaking about the first experiment that she's been doing at the spatial scale to start tracing this invisible and tangible information, spatial information that everyone is somehow living digitally in a built environment. And in this context, big data has been evolving a lot. And in fact, in the last 15 years, we've been witnessing the growth of this new universe of information that's been somehow growing around us. And in this ecosystem, this new universe, in fact, information and bits have been proliferating. And now we are facing a new challenge. How much can we start to introduce tools that can understand what is really what this data represents, and how can we use this data to start informing at a deeper level the decision that we have to take. In the universe of data, in fact, this information, these bits can be subdivided between structured and unstructured data. Unstructured data is referring to all these medium that we are creating, where it's very complex to catalog and classify the information in a normal instrument like the one of Excel, for instance, that we are all familiar with. But we need to use more advanced tools that can allow us to interpret deeper, which is the value and which is the meaning of this tools. And in fact, with machine learning and convolutional neural network, we can start to understand what images and videos represent. Images and videos are a part of the 80% of all the unstructured data that we are producing nowadays. And these tools are extremely good in understanding the semantic. So what is the essence, what all these images and video really represent, and how much can we start to use them to analyze and somehow trace or represent at a different scale spatial behaviors. Starting from crowd analysis, analysis of spatial occupancies, performance or mobility and traffic, we can use new data protocols to start defining at a deeper scale spatial phenomena and therefore inform at a higher level spatial transformation. This is our goal, this is what we do, and we do it at a different scale, even though we actually do it at only one scale, which is the scale of the pixel. But our actions at the end are output in the physical space through the environmental scale, the building scale, and the urban scale. And to do so, we work always using the same methodology of implementation. We actually been delivering in the last 4 years a proper method of solution, of intervention and tools, which always starts from the introduction of an automated system of data collection that allow us to capture data and capture this data in a manner that can be automated and therefore can be compared using at the end robotic system, whatever is it, drones, rovers or cameras, to allow us to collect data, always using a time variable as a new parameter that can allow us to compare at the end the output of this data collection. The second pillar is connected to all those instruments that allow us to digitize this data and bring this physical information into a digital world, where immediately all these pixels start to become the real digital matter that allow us to better and deeper analyze spatial phenomena. And to do that, we implement machine learning, computer vision, convolutional neural network that allow us from those images and from these point clouds to start defining the association between static and dynamic components that are part of this scene. All this data is not used only to describe present and past phenomena, but it also becomes an important instrument to start defining action to forecast future performance and behaviors that could represent a different way of spatial occupancy, energy usage, and so on. So just to show you now some of these projects that we've been implementing in the last years using a similar approach, we could start from a urban scale where all this information, again, are used in a context where data, technology at the end are implemented at the purpose of sustainability. Barcelona is is a beautiful city, but is one of the most polluted city in Europe, and this is due also because of the movement of wind and its physical and geographical conformation. In these urban environments, the interesting part is that Barcelona was planned as a really programmable urban habit, a programmable urban pattern, and in the years these urban environment have been evolving and is still evolving. And one of the most interesting evolution now is a urban model that really wants to convert this trend of pollution and starting to implement a new urban model that can reduce the spatial occupancy and the impact of cars and vehicles. They are occupying more than 70% of the urban environment and public spaces, and polluting at a level that is so high and so dangerous. And in fact, in this city, have been introduced the model of a super block, the Superilla by Salvador Rueda, which is a new urban model that reduces the access to cars and vehicles and give back to citizens the possibility to occupy and program and live in an extended public space. What we've been delivering and what we've been working on in the last years is a set of instruments that, thanks to computer vision and machine learning, allow us to analyze the impact of this spatial occupancy, starting to measure and evaluate the impact in terms of carbon footprint, though all these actors are living in a public space. And what we are doing through data is to define a dynamic system with which we can program the activation and deactivation of super areas according to the spatial usage that is, in fact, very, very different in terms of time during the day in the city. And to do so, we've been analyzing a series of instruments that are evolving that can allow us to better implement this spatial analysis. And this is also a very interesting aspect of the moment that we are living. It's a moment where also the instruments to perform the action that we are talking about are evolving, and it's a moment where nothing at the end is static, not even the tool or the pen that we use to define these new spatial phenomena. And to do so, we have to use a rigorous approach that allows us to compare the most accurate system. And once they are compared, start to define how can we use those instruments also to reduce at the maximum level the amount of data that we can collect to better describe these spatial phenomena. And at the end, all these instruments become crucial to start even creatively perform analytics that can allow us to understand the association between static and dynamic elements that are moving in a public space, and how much they can interact and how much one influence the other. And in fact, I would like to invite you also to have a look at some of the installation that we are now presenting in the Venice Biennale. That is still going on, and it's a moment where all these instruments at the end are not only representing a new urban opportunity to better understand and program public spaces for Barcelona, but they become also a transversal instrument that can be implemented in a similar way to study spatial phenomena in other ecosystems. And now, finally, from the introduction and from the conversation over material technology, and then this glimpse of opportunities that are connected to the analytics that we can perform from images and unstructured data, we want to come back to the physical space, showcasing some of the solutions that we've been deploying in our company of 3D printing, which is called La Macchina. In the last book about climate change, Bill Gates is talking about the relevance and the impact of advanced manufacturing and the need to go on in our task of keep building and making things. We can't stop making things, even though our mission is to reach the zero, no? To go to zero and lower down until zero the emission that we are producing. So the new challenge that we have all in front of us is how much can we reshape the way that we think about things and manufacturing. And in all of this, I would like to introduce you the factory of La Macchina, which is our new ecosystem of advanced manufacturing, where we are challenging the industrial capacity of 3D printing and digital fabrication to really represent an alternative to the ecosystem of production that we know nowadays. and shift and move from mass production to mass customization. So in the last year, we've been, during COVID time, we've been delivering a series of solutions that really represent the blending of all these ecosystem of tools that we've been describing so far, from material technology to computer science. And I would like to show you this store that we've been presenting in Dubai.
I just want Bruno, I just want Euro. Smoking on good though, this is from Pluto. I just like Saturn, body ring. Playing on my table, there's nothing you bring. I just want Bruno, I just want Euro. Smoking on good though, this is from Pluto. I just like Saturn, body ring. Playing on my table, there's nothing you bring. I cannot fuck with these records, dripping on and she baptized. Taking her back by her ass, I think she in love with my cash size. Put it all like bad vibes, getting different on cash. Don't get a hobby, counting these racks in my pastime. Call back on me, take a champ female out of tragedy. My bitch, you look a masterpiece. I'm an intelligent cavity. Let's try to make questions and tell it shit. I just don't get to the Benjamin. Spend it on my bitch and my battery. Charged up, let's just shit. She and my boss, like giving it.
So, 100, I think they were not 185, they were 164 pieces that we had to manufacture over the month of August last year in Barcelona. Every single component is different, and every single component is implementing the material technology of PureTech. And the interesting part is that in order to introduce these element in the mall, which is a very important in the Dubai Mall, which is a very important public space for the city of Dubai. We also have to respect a series of characteristics that every single material has to respect in order to be implemented and installed. And one of the most complicated was also the fire retardant. So we had to face a series of challenges, starting from the manufacturing to the implementation of material solution that would allow these components to be introduced. And the interesting part is that we had to do it in a very short time, respecting the timings of production from the retail sector, which are completely crazy. And in less than 2 months, we produced 164 pieces, more or less 3.2 tons of material, absorbing a lot of greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. I don't know how many of you know that the amount of pollution and carbon dioxide in interiors are superior to the one that you can record in outdoor spaces. But thanks to the implementation of our manufacturing system, we can absorb more than 4.9 tons of carbon dioxide, which is the equivalent of these capacity of absorption from the US forest. And now let's shift to another beautiful project that we've been delivering. Again, these projects are born from the collaboration with Carmelo Zappula and external reference. And we are very proud to represent the full country of Spain, all the country of Spain now in the Expo of Dubai, with our material technology and with our manufacturing industry. And in fact, with Carmelo, we've been thinking about, and we've been designing this solution of a forest of 142 trees that Carmelo and external reference been designing in the last year, and we've been manufacturing. And 142 trees and a big tree of equilibrium that represent at the end a new manifesto of an ecology that is born from the combination of computational design, digital fabrication, and material technologies. 1,446, I think, 1,415 pieces that we've been fabricating in a little bit less than 90 days, around 5.5 tons of material, and material again that is the PureTech material that is embedding also the fire retardant characteristics. And the interesting part is that all these pieces are different. All these pieces were due to be fabricated and delivered in time and installed very quickly in this super complex environment as the one of the Dubai Expo. And the interesting part is that we calculated that through the implementation and the absorption of these trees, we would be saving the amount of CO2, which is the equivalent of 1,013 gallons of gasoline that are consumed over 1 year. We are also participating in the Venice Biennale with an installation that we designed together with Marcella Del Signore and Tatiana Teixeira, an installation that at the end represents the full cycle, whatever we've been also describing so far, and the combination of a material technology that at the end could deliver and represent a new spatial solution. And here we've been implementing the PureTech over the thread. And we've been speculating over the possibility of technologies to cover and somehow regenerate urban surface and become a new layer that can really allow architecture to start breathing and become the architecture itself as a new parameter, a new actor in this novel ecology. Again, in the Venice Biennale, we are also showcasing a sensing device where it's possible to, in real time, to measure the absorption capacity of our powder and understand that these material technologies can be proved again through data. So to conclude, at the end, even if 95% of the studies nowadays are saying that we are responsible of climate change on the good notes, it means that we can be responsible also to determine actions that deployed now can trigger a different and better future tomorrow. So thanks for your attention, and it was a pleasure to be part of this conference.
All right, thank you very much, Aldo. All right, now we are going to open the floor, the screen for questions from our audience. So for the people, if you have any questions, you can jot it down over the chat box. But I think we already have questions that are there are already questions for you, Aldo. Tech team, can you please give us the questions? Okay. First question is that can PureTech be used outdoors? Can it be used as additive in paints?
I went very quickly over it, but we've been deploying a series of applications for the powder, and those are in paint, on concrete, on resin, on cardboards and papers, on textiles and plastic. So we've been engineering also material application for external paint, and these solutions are already in the market.
Okay. Wait, we're still waiting for a bit of questions. So from the audience, if you have any questions, kindly jot it down on the comment on the chat box. Burley, you have the question, Burley.
I see there is a question regarding the PureTech material.
Yeah.
So what happens when the material
absorb greenhouse gases? Does it PureTech material? Regarding PureTech material, what happens to the absorbed greenhouse gases? Does it convert them into anything?
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So all these process of photocatalytic and catalytic absorption and conversion are the ones that are responsible of these elimination of greenhouse gases. So they are not only absorbed, but they are actually eliminated and converted into carbonates. which are these inert minerals that are unharmful for the earth, for the skin, and the environment. We have more than 35 studies and certification that prove the capacity of absorption of our material technology. And all these studies and certification evidently are super important also to represent the final validation of our solution. And they are all delivered from third parties that are independent from us, evidently.
Okay. Last time we've met, right, Aldo, can you give us a little bit background about uh, uh, the fields that you nomina, right, is actually using robotics at quite some extent?
You want me to speak about robotics?
A little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so as we said before, with La Macchina, we are working at a new scale of architecture where all the solutions that are coming from the digital fabrication world wants to start becoming an alternative solution of manufacturing for the industry at the industrial scale. And in this ecosystem, we work with a lot of automated instruments and robots. Six-axis robots are one of those. In the Master in Robotics and Advanced Construction in IAC, in fact, we've been experimenting a lot, and in general, in the history of IAC, we've been experimenting a lot with these tools. But at the end, what becomes extremely interesting is how and why these tools becomes fundamental, no? And there is also a very important aspect again, which is connected to the reason behind the implementation of this solution. Six-axis robot at the end, they become a very important medium to represent an alternative to material manipulation, and they become somehow a medium again between the digital and physical world that has somehow to cope with material characteristics, material properties, and digitally understand and trace strategies of material manipulation, triggering potentially new architectural system that can somehow blossom from this new connection. And again, if you look at the work that we've been delivering in IAC, at the end, everything is about this bridge between the digital and the physical, and how through automated system we can start to deliver solution that wants to respond at the architectural scale to the lack of adequate housing, to the challenge that we are facing in architecture from standardization to customization, and at the end, the implementation of a sustainable solution that can somehow grow from the combination of all these systems.
Yeah. So we have another phone-in question. How do you dispose this material? I mean, the PureTech. Can it be recycled, or does it break down in a shorter time than other construction materials?
PureTech is a compound of mineral, a natural mineral, materials. So all the materials are completely natural, and this means that there is no impact at all, also in terms of disposal. In our manifesto and in our industrial application, we are also pushing for a circularity of applications for these material technologies, starting from textiles to manufacturing materials. We've been collaborating with companies and industries that are, again, at the industrial scale, use those materials as a new triggering start to deliver again new materials solution. So with recover textiles, we are working to extract from all the fibers that are already activated with the PureTech, the different combination, and at the end mix these fibers again to reproduce a new fabric. And this is very important if you want to think about the system of circularity, and if you want to understand at the end that all these materials that we are talking about, even when they are disposed, they still keep this capacity of absorption, and they can still be reconverted into a new material thanks to the implementation of, again, technologies.
Okay.
So just to tell you that our cousins really in this adventure of material technologies are purely working on a circular economy ecosystem where very advanced machines that we've been working on are introduced to again segment, classify, and separate materials that are coming from waste, and use these new materials as the first composition of a new fabric, of a new textile or a fabrication component.
Okay. Do we have any visuals for the questions, tech team? Okay. Does your manufacturing company La Máquina hire experts that are not architects, or do you partner up with other companies to arrive at digital materials? How far has architecture advanced so much that it goes beyond construction, but also a lot of scientific explorations that do not seem like to be architecture that we knew it to be?
Okay, thanks for your question, Choi. I mean, it's good to hear also your. It will be good also to hear your opinion about it. But we believe that in all these experience, at the end, transdisciplinarity and multidisciplinarity becomes the key for the evolution of a mature solution that can really represent an alternative to the ecosystem that we are living nowadays, of the, let's say, the architectural components and the methodology that we are following also nowadays to think about architecture, no? And in this matter, becomes crucial to work with biomolecular engineers, for instance, that are part of our ecosystem, robotic and fabrication engineers that can allow us to implement a system of automation where at the end, the sensing capability becomes crucial to adapt, adjust, and somehow reorient the manufacturing solution that we are deploying. And in all this new universe of knowledge, it becomes crucial to completely change our attitude and think transversally, since even the boundary between professions are completely falling apart. And in this moment, a lot of opportunities are arising. And in this moment, at the end, there is also the beauty of an historical really an historical challenge that we are all facing, and a new historical chapter that we could be all part of, which is how we redefine through this universe of opportunities all the manufacturing, design, and material solution that we've been implementing so far, and we've been used to call until now architecture. So which is the architecture of the future? I don't know, but I know that we have to redefine it together. Okay.
Next question is, what would you say that you have redefined architecture? Can you say something about this and how?
That is exactly what I was saying right now. I don't think I'm redefining architecture at all. I just think that I'm part of this somehow globally connected chain of knowledge, research, and experimentation and application of solution that wants to really represent an alternative way of thinking about architecture and thinking somehow not thinking, but demolishing dogmas that we've been implementing so far without really understanding the impact of that all these solutions that we've been so familiar with were really representing for our planet. So I believe that this is a challenge that we all have to face together, and we have to face it using the academia as really the triggering environment where experimentation is possible, because failure is possible in the academia, and knowledge can be somehow mixed with the expertise that are coming from different fields, and use this experience from the academia at the industrial scale to really deploy more mature solutions from our habitats and built environments.
Okay. Thank you for that. And next is, what's your thoughts on pandemic period carbon levels? Did it improve, or do we expect it to get worse after post-pandemic or post-pandemic? How is your company and technology planning for post-pandemic scenarios?
Well, this is a hard question, but we saw during the pandemic, we saw that there was a drop in terms of carbon emission. And this is also because we are, we were used to probably underestimate the way that our way of living, and we were used to underestimate the impact, even that our traveling habits were representing for our planet. I think this conference that we are making nowadays, it becomes somehow a readaptation, a response to a new universe where we suddenly discover that it's much easier to connect digitally, or in some cases, but we also discover that it's so important, again, to be presentially together. So these are two lessons where at the end it becomes a mature choice to understand, where it's really needed to be there together or not. And on the other side, aside from this, we also have the opportunity to start rethinking at the supply chain, look at all the problems that are at the geopolitical scale are happening because of a world that is so much connected and suddenly becomes disconnected. And this becomes a very important moment where we might need to come back to our local resources. We might need to start thinking that it's so crucial to focus back our manufacturing ecosystem of supply chain, thinking that the local solution can really represent and should represent the first triggering environment towards a self-sufficient habitat. So I guess this is a very important topic, and I really invite the United Nations now in the next POC conference that will happen now in Glasgow to start planning politically all these new action that we need to really undertake to think about an ecosystem and a world that has to be connected but still has to rethink the trajectory and the deployment and the distribution of the main resources that are necessary for each single country to become self-sufficient.
Okay. Thank you for that. And the next question from Christian Reyes, I think. Number one, is PureTech best applied only to the surface of a material or to the whole composition of a material? And number two, do you envision PureTech to be easily available for common consumption of the public, particularly for commercial and household uses?
PureTech is already publicly available. So it's just a matter to connect with us. What we've been doing so far are collaboration that are B2B. Since, we are deploying a new industry, and the industry work in terms of size under specific numbers, but we are working as a Trojan horse. This is something that I always comment. At the end, if you want to introduce innovation, you cannot pretend that you're gonna completely change the way that an industry works, and this means that you need to enter in the ecosystem and somehow accept part of the mechanism that the industry represent nowadays. But on the other side, start to slowly, gently, invisibly introduce a change that at the end has a much deeper impact on a longer term. So yes, the material is available. The material is available under an amount of quantities that are not even so high, so don't even be scared. And our goal is to make this material accessible, economically viable, which is something that we are already doing, and completely coherent also in the way that the narrative that we are talking about really makes sense. And in fact, we are calculating the carbon footprint in terms of production that we generate. So for every ton of pure tech, we produce 1.5 tons of carbon dioxide, but 1 ton of pure tech absorb 35 tons of carbon dioxide equivalent from the atmosphere.
Okay. Okay, I think this would be the last question for today. Do you have plans or have you studied the Philippines with regards to design methodologies or adapting technology just like what you do in Barcelona?
I mean, I didn't do it, but there are very talented colleagues like Choi that are there, and they are more than aware of the impact, the opportunity, and the possibility of these digital tools. And with Choi, we've been working together in an educational program, trying to understand how much thanks to the digital fabrication and computational design and the data analytics, we can start to rethink public spaces using material resources. And I think she has a much deeper experience in your territory than the one that I have. But the interesting part is that the methodology, the essence of this approach is the same.
Okay, thank you very much for that, ladies and gentlemen. Aldo Sollazzo is in the house. Thank you very much. Okay, for the awarding of the certificate, may I call on our chapter president, architect Bons Tararemo.
Hi.
Yes.
Good afternoon again. Nice to see you again, Aldo.
Nice to see you.
Arktoberfest issues this certificate of recognition to Aldo Sollazzo for sharing his valuable time and knowledge as guest speaker on Arktoberfest 2021 Data Matters via live streaming on Zoom meetings given this 16th of October 2021, signed by me and attested by our chapter treasurer, Architect Beverly Locsin. Thank you very much.
Thanks to you. Thanks a lot for your invitation.
Yes, thank you very much as well, Aldo. And we have one last request, Aldo. Any final message to the Filipino architects who aspires to do what you are doing right now?
Well, just be brave. Don't be afraid that these technologies don't make sense today. Embrace the uncomfortable experience of jumping out of your comfort zone, and start to understand that behind these doors there is a universe of opportunities where we all together can think about how to redefine the beautiful world of architecture.
Okay, thank you very much and very well said. Okay, guys, thank you very much, Aldo, and I think still good morning there. Yes. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, of course, I would like first to thank our sponsors for today, Boysen, the #1 paint ITC Corporation. Sino pa ba yun? BITC, Starken, and also, Boysen, BITC, Foamy Philippines, Starken, and ITC Corporation, and of course, Crown Pipes. And before we end the CPD seminar for today, we will announce who won our raffle draw for today, of course. Architect Bons, ano bang mapapalalunan nila?
Yung Arktoberfest merchandise.
Maganda yon. Maganda yung Arktoberfest merchandise. We have
starting today and on the next Saturday hanggang last day, we will be having raffles. Yung major prizes will be on the 30th. So
fellowship.
I hope
A fellowship.
Yes.
The fellowship. Okay, guys, of course. Sa fellowship, we have, the major prize, but for now, next Saturday and the 30th, yung mga CPD seminars natin, we will have, our prizes will be the merchandise of Arktoberfest this year. So napaka high-tech ng ating raffle draw. Okay. So how many press ang ating mga mananalo for today?
Alam ko, 5.
Okay, we will draw 5 lucky winners. Okay, spin nyo na, tech team. We have a winner, Kate. Sino si Kate? Lista nyo yun, Kate. Congratulations for winning the raffle. And next winner is... Napaka-exciting, Char. We have Krishna. Wow, si Krishna. Krishna. Luto yan. Charing. Okay.
Luto.
Luto, okay. Next is... Marika. So, lapit na lang po sa kinauukulan ang mga taong ito kasi hindi po kompleto yung name nyo. Okay? The next is... sino si Angelica? Parang feeling ko maraming Angelica dito. Pero wala na siya sa Zoom meeting. Anyway, kung sino man siya, congratulations. Next is, this is the 4th, right? So we still have another one. Yes.
Yeah, last.
Last one for today is... Grace Mariel. Congratulations for winning the raffle for today. Ayan. So, I would like tech team kindly post the schedule of our Arktoberfest. Yes, before we end our seminar for today. Yes, guys. So of course, 1 weekend down and 2 more to go. Next week, we will have on deck our very own AK Dorotan to be talking about architecture and climate change. And on the 30th, we will have people from 8 Inc. Singapore. We'll be talking about experiential design. So we will have architect Jenry Bonifacio Umali and his mentor, and our world-renowned experiential designer Team Kobe. Ayon, yun ang ating mga aabangan. And we for the CPD points, we are still waiting for the CPD points to be awarded for the seminar on experiential design. But however, for AK Dorotan, we are awarded with 1 point. So kita-kita ulit tayo next week. Ayan, Press, do you still have any announcement for our listeners, our viewers, our guests?
Yung question and answer yata will be emailed to them, tapos within 24 hours they should answer. If not, kasi hindi makakount yung CPD.
Oh yes. So the parang the quiz, quote unquote quiz will be emailed to you. Ayan. So once again, this is the schedule. On the 23rd, we have AK Dorotan. And of course, on 30th, we have people from 8 Inc., Architect Bonifacio Umali, and of course, Team Kobe. Ayan. So once again, this has been your host. Thank you again, Aldo. Thank you also. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of Executive Director for Education Committee of UAP, Architect Choi Funk, who is in here in our Zoom meeting for today. So ayan, this has been, of course, Adrian Tampolino zooming out from Singapore, and see you all next week. Yeah.
Recordings